So good morning everyone and welcome to today's webinar, which is on how to experience a personalised journey or build a personalised journey with our automation tool. So my name's Georgia. I've also got my colleague Ed on the call with us as well. So I'm in our product specialist team and look at me. And then Ed, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Ed. I also work alongside Georgia as a product specialist. Cool. So in today's webinar, we'll be starting off with an overview of the products available in the Spotler group. We'll then discuss why automations are such a valuable tool that you can use. And then after this, George and I will take you through 3 automations we recommend setting up. For each of these, we'll show you how easy it is to create them by logging into the platform and sort of giving you a quick demo. We'll then finish off with some results we can take you through and also any questions that you might have from those demos.
So firstly, a little bit about us as a business. So we are part of the Spotler group, so a group of companies. We've actually got, I think in total, and all of the screens, I think in total there's 11 of us. But we have Squeezely, which is our website personalisation platform. So we can do things such as website recommendations, overlays, cart abandonment as well. We have a SpotlerSocial platform, so all about being able to manage all of your different social medias in one area, doing different publishing, scheduling, reporting. There's also a kind of live chat feature and WhatsApp for Business available in that as well. Sucra, which is one of our newer ones, which is an online search product as well. We have MailPlus, which is the one we're going to be going through today. We have WebPower, which is all about our enterprise emails and SMS. So again, much more high volume sending and high speed as well. And then FlowMode, which deals with all of our transactional emails. So any kind of invoice you have, delivery updates, anything like that. So lots of different platforms available. Any questions on any of these, if you just reach out to your account manager or to, I think it's contact@SpotlerUK, someone will get back to you. So the importance of automations, why do we want to use automations? Why do we recommend using automations? So we're able to pre-plan the optimal experience to every type of customer. So you've got different types of customers, you've got different journeys, and therefore you can really tailor your audience, tailor your data to what you're actually sending them, and in terms of how they're engaging as well. You can obviously send and tailor them to products they own, different engagement rates, different options there. We're able to save our time and resource as well. So obviously automations, the whole point is that they're set up, they run in the background, and then that welcome email that you're currently manually sending to maybe every single customer is an automated process and therefore goes through an automation instead. You can build multi-step customer journeys. So first, we also have options in terms of us being able to send emails. You could also choose to update contact records. You could do kind of internal updating systems as opposed to just actual communications that you're sending out as well. We can also notify different areas of the business. So you could notify perhaps your sales team for prospects and leads, as well as existing business and customers. You can allow them to process and categorize data for you. So again, helping segment your data, filtering people down into like-minded audience groups you can then send to individually. And then we also have the option to analyze how customer behavior trends change over time as well.
The first use case we'll be going through today is the lead generation one. This might be an email that is triggered from a prospect filling out a form on the website. The same logic we can use for other forms you may have on the website. It doesn't have to be just, like a white paper download, for example. It could be another form that you post on the website. But the example I use today is a white paper download. So a bit more about this automation. This is a great example of how to target your customers in the first stage of the sort of customer life cycle. They've been on your website, they've browsed enough, they want to find out more, and they've filled out that form. A couple of ways to enhance that automation would be to add a step, send an email notification to a stakeholder or maybe the sales team to update that person or that team that person has actually filled out that form, or they've sort of clicked the link within the email. You can also add a notification at the beginning of the automation and configure the notification there so they actually receive that as soon as that form has been filled out. You can also maybe enrich the prospect's profile by adding additional information about them. So, for example, if they filled out that form and they've requested more information about a certain product, you know they're interested in that product, so why not update their profile to mark them as interested in that product, rather than to actually tell you about that interest. You already know it because they filled out that form. So now I'll hand over to Georgia and she'll take you through the second use case we'll go through today as well.
So our second use case for today is going to be a welcome or a nurture series. The goal that we have here is for us to be able to increase click to web conversion. So again, maybe you've got a brand new customer and therefore, this could be internal employees, or this could be actual customers for your business. We're going to send them and put them into a welcome journey where they're going to receive, some welcome emails. We do it with our customers whenever we get anybody new. You will get added to a welcome automation. We send you through some information about the business. We send you things like the login link, reminding you or asking you to log in, helping you log in. We send you some useful training links as well. So lots of different options we can do with that one here. With this one, like I said, it's a welcome, it's a nurture journey. So with this one, so a couple of tips we can use. Click conditions are great. Has somebody clicked? Have they engaged with the email? For example, if we've included a link to the login page in the email, we can then run a condition to say, has somebody clicked on that? Have they actually tried to log in? Yes or no? And then we also have our tagging and scoring option as well, which we'll go through in terms of, again, being able to then tag different data based on whether or not they've completed an action that you want to do. In this case, clicks. Clicks are a great use case, one of my favorite examples to use. We can then tag somebody to say, yes, yes, they have clicked, they've engaged, or no, they haven't clicked, they haven't engaged, and what we then choose to do with that data afterwards, how we choose to target them. And then X, one's yours.
Yeah, so the final use case we'll go through today is an abandoned cart journey. This is a really key automation for any e-commerce website owners out there. So if someone's abandoned an item on a website, you can then target them to remind them that they've abandoned that item on the website. They need to go back and actually hopefully convert to a sale as well. Yeah, that's a really great one to be using. We'll go through that today. So a bit more about this one. So similar automations might include a browse or a form abandonment. So you can apply the same sort of logic to those two as well. So in this example, we'll be using the product Squeezely, which is in the Spotler group that Georgia mentioned earlier on. We'll use that product to set up that cart abandon automation. The great thing about these automations is there's a lot of flexibility within them, so you can really customize them to really suit your needs as well.
Perfect. So now we're going to actually go into the platform itself. So we'll go into the platform, and then Ed, you're going to start with that lead generation one. So if you want to share your screen first.
Perfect. So let me share now. Lovely. So yeah, this is the Mail Plus platform, as Georgia mentioned. So this is our email platform. So we'll be using it to create the first white paper example. So on the left-hand side here, we've got automations as a tab there. So I've already created the message I'd like to use in the automation in advance. So all I need to do now is actually create that automation and then push that live. So if I head into automations, I can see an overview of my automations that I've created previously. As you can see, this is a demo account. There's quite a few examples in here. But what I'll do is I'll create a new automation here, give it a name. So it might be white paper download. And you can also add a description if you wanted to. Over next, we've then got a few templates that you can use. So if you do get stuck, you want a bit of inspiration, there are a few to look at here. I think actually we have actually got a white paper download example here. So you can see here that when the automation starts, when they fill out that form, they'll be sent an email, and then we can also see if they clicked on the link as well. But I'll create from scratch to sort of give you a bit more insight into the process. So what I'll do is I'll use the blank template there. Save and next, that will take me over to the preview of my automation. I then want to edit that automation. And you can see here, it's the automation builder. So on the left-hand side, I've got my different options. To start us off, I'll add in a trigger. So what actually causes someone to actually be called into this automation. So there are a few you can use here, but for this example, as it's a form fill, I'm going to drag in a form there. From that, I can then select my form. So again, I've already created that form. I've got that live on the website, so I can then pick that. So I've got this white paper request form. I can add a filter here if I wanted to. So maybe if they were a pre-existing customer, you don't want to be included in this journey, they get sent through a different journey, for example, so you can filter your contacts as well if you wanted to. Click on OK, I can then use my action here. So again, there are a couple to pick from here, mainly being email, SMS, or also notification for those two as well. So I'm going to drag on an email here. I can then select my message. So again, I've created that message in advance. It's the email that should be sent out to that user. So I'm going to choose this white paper download message. You'll see a preview of that there as well. Below that, I can choose my schedule. So it might be I want to wait a few minutes or a couple of hours or even a day, for example. So once they've filled out that form, there'll be a short wait period. Otherwise, I can send it immediately after they fill out that form. So if it was a white paper download, it probably makes sense to send it out pretty quickly. And again, I can filter again if I wanted to introduce a filter in the actual journey itself. Click OK, that then pulls through that email. Following on from that, I might want to introduce a condition where I'm checking whether they've actually interacted with that email. So we can drag in this click option there, drag that underneath the email. I can then select the message I'd like to check. So again, it's just going to be that message I created earlier. And then I want to look at that document link. So there is actually a button to download that white paper. So I'm going to choose that button there. If they've clicked on any other button, I don't care. I just want to look at that document link. Below that, I can then specify my wait time. So if they don't click on that link after 4 days, they'll then go down that no path. If they click on it before 4 days, they'll immediately go down this yes path. Click on OK, that's great. Minimize that. I might want to, if they haven't clicked on that link, I could introduce another email. So after 4 days, they'll receive a follow-up email reminding them to click on that link if you wanted to send that as well. So I can include that second email. Obviously, you'd want to maybe alter the text and the copy in that email, but you would then choose that second message, click on OK, and then they'll be sent that follow-up email if you wanted to have that sent out. I mentioned in the presentation that we can also update a contact record. So as they filled out this form, we know what sort of product or service they're interested in. So what I can do here is under the actions, I can also update their profile. So it probably makes the most amount of sense to do that immediately because there's no point waiting. So I'm going to drag this into the first action within the automation. I can then choose the field to update. So I might want to use the interest field. It could be another field if you needed that to be another field. I'm going to do the interest there. And we've got a few example interests here, but obviously you will then create your own based on the website. But I might choose sport as an example. So they've requested a sport. And again, I can use my schedule here to either wait or do it immediately, but it makes sense again to have that done immediately. Click on OK. So you can see here when someone submits that form, we'll update their interest to match the sort of the paper they have downloaded or requested. They'll then be sent that email with a link to download that white paper. Below that, we're going to check if they click on that actual download button. If they do, great, they'll finish that automation, or if they don't, we'll then do a follow-up email. If they do complete that action by downloading that email, we might want to choose an email notification. So I can drag that in. Again, I can then select my message. So as I mentioned before, this might be an email to your sales team, for example. In that email, you might want to pull through that contact's first name, their email address, so they can reach out to them directly. So again, you would have created that email in advance, and then you would then select that email. Here, you can pop in your notification email address. So I might put in Spotler sales. Okay, sales address there, and then yeah, if someone clicks that link, our sales team will then receive an email with their contact details, and they can then reach out if they wanted to. And again, that could be direct or after a certain period of time. That's a very simple example here. So as you can see here, you can elaborate that on much further. So you can choose multiple steps here and check the follow-up email where they clicked on that. If they didn't, again, they can on a different journey if you need that to happen. So a lot of flexibility around this, but yeah, it's more of a simple example for that white paper. I can save that, close down the editor. You can see I've got a preview of that there as well. Save and finish. I can then see my automation I've created. All I need to do now is change the status from draft to final. I can then use that. So I go into the publisher mode here, click on new publication action, and then set that live. So this might be my white paper. Download. Here you can set how many times someone should be able to enter into this automation, but you might want to set that to unlimited, or in this use case, I might select once because once they've downloaded the white paper, they shouldn't need to enter it again. I can then choose the automation I just built, give it a preview, click on next. I can basically schedule out that to go live. So if it was maybe relating to a promotional event, for example, you could sort of specify that timing there. But for me, I'm going to choose immediately. You can also specify an end date if you want to do. Click on next, I can then publish that automation, and that's now pushed live. So whenever someone fills out that form, they'll be pulled into that automation. Cool. I think that was it for my example. So I'll pass over to Georgia and she can go through the second one that we mentioned.
Absolutely. So if I reshare my screen here like so. So I'm also in the automations module, and I'm going to create a brand new automation inside of here. And this one we are going to call it a welcome series. Click save and next. So again, lots of different templates we can choose from. One of my favorite things I think Ed did mention was the fact we have different templates for us to be able to use. You can also use a blank option here as well, and you can actually save your own automations that you build your own structures as templates. And these then appear underneath the save template section. So whilst we have lots of different examples you're able to use just when you wish to, you can also save any of the ones that you create that are custom to you, your business, your organization, as their own templates for you to be able to use time and time again as well. Just speeding up that process in terms of not having to rebuild the whole structure every single time. But we're going to look at the welcome campaign, which is this one here. If I click view, I can preview. So we've got our welcome campaign in here. And again, these can be as long or as short as we actually want them to be. So inside of here, if I was to select this one and then we'll click save and next, we'll use a template option and I can then click edit. When we use the templates, we can see in here it opens up, and currently they're all in red, basically meaning that they're all currently technically issues. There aren't issues with it, I've just not actually set the actual stage up, because all I've got is the block, the stage has been dragged and dropped on, but there is no actual criteria to meet that. So for example, what is the trigger of my automation? What is the email that I wish to be able to send? At the top here, you've got a red warning triangle that's got 6 issues inside of it. On that drop down, it will highlight all of the stages that says there's currently issues. It is a bit of a security measure. It can help people feel a little bit more reassured with their automation. You basically can't test your automation or set it live until all of these are gone away and you get a little green tick in this box that says no issues. So if there is something fundamentally that hasn't been done, it will tell you and it will let you know, and it will also take you to wherever it is that issue is occurring. You click through these, it will highlight the stage for you to be able to use. Inside of here is my automation. Now my automation trigger could be a variety of different things, could be anything. We've got anything from a form fill, so has somebody filled in a form and therefore they're going to be added to my work series, or have I filled in the form on behalf of them? Could be a survey. We could also pull them in from external triggers, so again that could come into things like CRM systems. Maybe you're pulling data inside to MailPlus from elsewhere and therefore pulling data in, and therefore they're going to enter into the automation. We can also trigger this automations based on different date fields or different contact fields as well. Date field being a particular one, so a specific date field we may have, and therefore we could say wait until a certain date is reached. Maybe at the point of import, if you're doing import CSV data into the platform, we're then basically saying, wait until a date has been reached, and therefore we can then say, all these contacts were signed up today, for example, therefore they're going to be added into this particular automation. You can always right-click delete the stage if you want to as well, but also a good example to show that we can have multiple triggers. In terms of my welcome series automation, if I just go through and select all the stages, it will then edit the actual kind of editor on the left-hand side here. So the trigger for this automation is going to be a form, again, a form that I would previously create. I'm pretty sure I've got one called test form. Let's go for this one. I've then got a variety of different questions that I can select, and not only can that has to be a specific form, I could actually say they have to have answered a particular question on that form with a particular answer to pull them into the automation. So we can be more granular on it as well. We have the option to then select our message. So again, I can go through and I can select any particular messages that I wish to go through and use. I look for maybe this one here like so, and again, set up any wait stages that I might want if I needed to. My click condition is checking an interaction. So on this particular message in my automation, I'm then checking for a particular link. Has someone clicked on a particular link in this particular email? As I mentioned earlier, we have an automation welcome series that we use for any of our new customers, any new users that get created for the platform. And as and when they get created, they get added into this. So we might send links to the login page, for example, to try and encourage users to log in. And we can then maybe check have they clicked on the login link in the email that we sent them. What I can then do is I then have the option to be able to go through under my actions option. We've got lots of different options we can do in here, but I could choose to add or remove tags. So tags are a great way of us being able to actually segment our data and being able to group our data together. So I could basically come in here and I could say add or remove a tag. So if they have clicked, for example, I can then say I want to add a tag in, which is this option here. And I can then go through and set the tag, or I can create a previous tag that I would need, or create a new one. So I could go for, if they have, I'm going to mark them with the tag of engaged. I could also score them as well. Maybe I give them a score of 5 every time they engage in this automation. On the other side of this, what I could then do is I could then also add the same feature on, but I could remove the tag. And therefore I could say I want to remove the tag of engaged, like so. Actually, I could remove the tag entirely. The other option you have is that you can actually still tag it with engage, but you could decrease the score. Those are 2 different options that you can do with that as well. Also something to note is that every time you select a stage, you get this little jigsaw puzzle icon here. That's where you're able to drag and enter in any of those stages throughout. But my condition stage here is me going through and selecting a particular link and choosing how many days somebody may have to actually complete the action. Maybe it's 7 days. And then after that, and maybe I've got my tags for yes, they've engaged, no, they haven't. I've then got 2 more communications. So I'm saying, yes, they have engaged, therefore I'm going to choose the same mailing again, but it could be something different. I can then send them a communication, say, great, they've logged in, now here's the next step, here's the next, here's the link to some training videos or some useful helpful information to send them. Whereas on the other side, they haven't engaged, I might do a resend, and I might resend that same communication, give them another, maybe I wait, let's say 5 days, and then resend the exact same communication to them again. And then again, that click interaction, checking again and repeating. Well, this time, have they clicked on the login link, for example, and how many days I wish to give them to do that, and then click OK with this. And then again, I'm checking maybe this one, if they don't, they're going to go on the negative route, they're going to exit my automation. But if they do click on that login link, then I've got a go-to action stage here, and this one could be located underneath the flow section, basically connecting my positive routes. So if they then click the second time, they get reconnected up to the same route up here, and I can reconnect those routes up. And this one was pre-built, which is why it selects this, but I could change to the tag instead. So therefore, they'll go through that whole stage as and when. There's an undo and redo option, which is also really, really useful in automations, and always the ability to preview as well. And using the overview tab is a really quick and easy way for us to be able to navigate around. I won't go through the publication element because Ed's already gone through that. But again, same process when I finish is that I would need to be able to change the status of that and then publish my automation for live data to be able to pass through it. Ed, your third example.
Perfect, cool. Let me reshare my screen as well, and we'll go through the cart abandon example. Perfect. So yeah, very similar to before. We'll start off by creating our automation. So I'll go into my overview tab, click on the automation, give it a name of cart abandon, and then save and next. And here, again, we've got our template. I'm going to use the abandoned cart template, this one. So click on save and next. Click on edit. Very simple one. So when the automation starts, we're using an external trigger. After that happens, we're then going to send an email. So I'm going to drag in my email. Oh, sorry, it's already dragged in. I'm going to select my email. So I'm using my abandoned cart email. Click on OK, and that's essentially it. So the logic will be set up in SqueezeD, and all we're doing in MailPlus is actually just going to send out that email. So that's all I need to do here. So I've just chosen my email I'd like to use. Click on Save, close Editor, Save and Finish. And I will need to set this live so I can actually use it in SqueezeD. I'm going to change my status to be final, and then publish that card. Perfect. And I'm going to select my card abandon. Next, I can then trigger it immediately. If I'm not to publish it live, Save and finish, that's now publishing. So now I can log into Squeezely, and then within Squeezely I can set up that cart abandon trigger, and we're going to use that email automation we just used, set up in Mail Plus. This is Squeezely. So Squeezely is a website personalization tool where you can basically personalize on-site content and also send those sort of triggered emails as well. So what I'll do is I'll head into the journey section. I'll create my journey. Give it the journey a name as well. And here I can choose my logic as to how someone gets pulled into this journey. So I can add in my rule, select my filter. So there are a few different options you can pick from here. We've got website activity, or also based on a profile field as well. So as soon as they update their profile on the website, maybe they've signed up and they've given you some more information about themselves, you could trigger from that. But for me, I'm going to choose the event. Here's one off, and there are lots of different events we can use within Squeezely. So it might be they have viewed a product page, or they have submitted a form, for example. You can also use Squeezely for form abandonment as well. So yeah, I'm going to choose the add to cart option here. As I said, there are various different ones that you can select as the sort of starting event for this, but I'm going to choose add to cart. Click on save. I've then got my journey here. So a bit like Mail Plus, I've got my start, my end, and in the middle, I just drag in my email. So I can drag in my email there. I can limit it, I can require consent if I wanted to. Below here, I can select the automation trigger I've actually created in Mail Plus. So you can see here I've got my cart abandoned. I can then choose my products that are going to be included into that email, because if it is a cart abandoned, you probably want to show them the items they've abandoned. So here we can basically say, actually, let's include maybe added to cart, no fallback. So if they've added one item to the cart, it will show one item rather than showing others as well. So we're going to pull through the items they've added to their cart. Click on save, that email will then be sent out. What we might want to do is maybe add in an engagement split. Or actually we're going to say, did they make a purchase? And also we can then specify that wait time, let's wait an hour. We're then going to add in our event, is one-off purchase. And what this is doing is it's saying, after they've added something to their cart, wait an hour, and then check, did they make a purchase? If they did, maybe let's just sort of leave the journey. So we can actually maybe delete this email here, and they can just leave that journey. We'll disable the goal because we haven't actually helped them with that purchase. They were already going to convert as a customer. So what we actually want to do is re-add that email into the no column. So again, like before, I'm going to select my cart abandon there, choose my product logic, which is going to be the added to cart one. Click on save. And now if they don't make a purchase in that hour, we'll then follow up with that email. As I mentioned before, it's very flexible. You could add an additional logic here. We update their profile in Squeezely, or maybe you want to add in a wait time or wait until. It's quite useful if you want to sort of collect quite a few cart abandon events, and then maybe the week before Black Friday, you send them a personalized offer, for example. You can split the audience based on what type of customer they are. So maybe if they're like a VIP customer to yourselves, they've bought over 10 times, for example, they receive a different set of emails to someone who is a brand new customer, for example. So yeah, lots of flexibility that you can introduce here. And that is essentially it. So I can now save and publish. That then pushes that live. When someone abandons something from their cart, we'll then use the automation we've created in Mail Plus, and that's then going to fire off that email. So yeah, very quickly we've sort of created that cart abandon email using the Mail Plus platform and also the Squeezely platform as well.
Perfect.
Over to you.
Yeah, let me refine the share button. There we go. So that was our kind of in-product experience. In terms of the 3 different automations that we've got, depending on whether they're, 2-stage emails, 3-stage emails. So for lead gen, we recommend maybe a 2-stage email follow-up. We tend to find these are ballpark figures. The average client up is probably about 10%. And then we've got our welcome nurture series and our browse and cart abandonment option. So our welcome nurture series can be up to 20%. Again, these are ballpark figures, they're rough estimates of kind of data that we've looked at and how it's affected us in terms of our marketing strategy. And then we've also got the cart abandonment, which is also quite interesting. So it's split 12%, split 8% for cart and 4% for browsing as well. So again, that's the increase in total online revenue for those. And then, yeah, were there any questions at all that anybody had, anything they wanted to ask?
Well, I think there are
So
a
we'll hang
couple.
around for the next, sorry, Ed. We'll hang around for the next few minutes ago, and then any questions you do have, please do pop them in the chat. And then Ed, if you're going to go through this bit.
Yeah, cool. So as you can see on the slide, for all webinar attendees, we're offering a free 30-minute call with our strategy consultants. So on this call, if you wanted to attend, you can talk about any automation ideas that you may have. If you wanted to book this in, or if you've got any follow-up questions that are directly related to your account, please speak to your account manager, and they'll be able to give you a hand with that. Well, I think there were a couple of questions, Jordan, which we can go through.
Yeah, lovely. If I stop sharing, then we can go through and we can look at the questions chat. I did go through and answer a couple as we were going through. Got one that's saying, is it possible to put an approval step before triggering an automation? So if, for example, if an account is owned by a particular member of staff and they just sign off communication to that company. What I would do is you'd almost get a separate automation. So you could have a completely separate automation, therefore basically checking a field. So you could have a contact field created, maybe it's called account manager, for example, and therefore you can basically check who the account manager is and check the conditions. So if it is account manager, then, yes, they can then be given this tag, therefore they'll be pulled into the second automation, so they go through, or if no, then they can't be communicated, they won't go through. So I'd do it in a completely separate automation. It's how I would do that, using different contact fields, and probably tagging is going to be the easiest way to do that in the platform. And from Matt, that just says, I love what you're doing, which is lovely to hear. Very happy with that one, so thank you, Matt.
He also asked if he can do the similar sort of thing on Gatormail as well. Yeah, absolutely, you can. So yeah, you can replicate that on Gatormail. So yeah, speak to your account manager and they can take you through that as well.
Lloyd's asked, you'll be receiving the slides. You will be receiving the slides. Yes, we will send around the slides and also a recording of the webinar to you. Either probably the next day or so they'll come around. If you don't receive them, then do just send us an email and we'll make sure we get them over to you. Perfect. Any other questions at all from anyone? Okay, perfect. Well, if you're okay with it, Ed, we'll leave it there for today. Perfect. Thank you very much for attending, anybody. Like I said, any questions, do reach out either to us or to your managers, and we'll be in contact as soon as we can. Thank you for attending.